All right, let's do it. Let's talk about blueberries. So, one of the things about being on the farm with my grandparents during the summer was just understanding that she had a huge value with work. You were going to have to learn how to work. There was no such thing as having a summer break where you're able to play with your friends all day and sleep into noon and get up and do it all over again tomorrow and have ice cream and walk on the beach and just do nothing. That wasn't going to happen. You had to be up early in the morning, early mean before the sun came up, and you were working in some capacity. And when there wasn't work for you to do on their particular farm, you were always available for someone else's farm. In this case, it was the blueberry field. So let me tell you about the blueberry field. The blueberry field is just as you probably are imagining it. It was a huge acreage of land with bushes, kind of looked like hedges, filled with blueberries. And for a person that is disgusted by blueberries, don't enjoy the taste of blueberries, this is probably a nightmare. But for someone who does, this is heaven. As far as the eye can see, there are blueberries. There are blueberries. So on the days off at my grandparents' farm, we would go to the blueberry field and pick blueberries for money. Now get this, you had to fill the buckets up with blueberries. Bucket was maybe, I don't know, let's say a gallon bucket for $2.50 a bucket. So you fill your blueberry bucket up, you go take it to, it's a truck that's usually on the end of the row. They dump the blueberries in a container and then they give you a ticket, and that's your $2.50 that you collect those tickets and you cash it in at the end of your time there, and they exchange it for money. So one of the farms that is big in there is Cottle Farm, C-O-T-T-L-E. Cottle Farm has delicious blueberries. Anytime that I see them in the market up here or wherever, I'm just like, wow. And I see the name of the city and I'm like, we know those guys. But anyway, yeah, so we were picking blueberries. So I was maybe about 11 years old, because it wasn't too long that I learned how to make biscuits. So I'm in the blueberry field, and while I'm picking these blueberries and eating them too, sorry people, while I'm eating the blueberries, I started thinking about making a blueberry cobbler and what that would taste like. And the flavors just started coming into my mind and into my taste buds, like, oh yeah, that's gonna go well. We'll do lemon, we'll do sugar. Yeah, that'll be so good, and we'll make a crust similar to biscuits, and yeah. So I decided, if my grandmother would allow me, I was going to make a blueberry cobbler. And got from the field and washed your body, and we always, let me say this, we always took some gallons back to the house because my grandfather loves blueberries as well. So when we say we love blueberries, we just eat them raw, like boom, ba-doom, 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 ba-doom. It is no joke. In our family, we love blueberries. And so we had taken some home, and I said, I'm gonna make me a blueberry cobbler. So my mom made me a blueberry cobbler, and grandma was absolutely okay with it. After I had washed and showered and got ready for this, again, you up early, so your day starts at 6 but it ends maybe at 12. So I was like, I'm making a blueberry cobbler. I pulled out all the ingredients that I needed, and I literally tasted my way through and then smelled my way through this recipe that I had no recipe for. And so the blueberries taste delicious in the submerging of spices and ingredients, and so it was time for me to make the crust. And I did it again, similar to how I learned to make biscuit: flour, lard, and milk. But instead of rolling it in a way that you make the biscuits with, I rolled it out as a crust. And it was totally wrong. It was not right. And I remember my mom coming in just holding it up like, this is not the crust that you made. This is not the crust that you made. And she said, go give this to my grandfather's hogs. And my grandfather was like, I don't want my hogs mad at me. Don't give them that. Whatever. So she taught me at that point, my mom did, how to make the perfect crust, which is the crust that I always make today. So I had to share that story because I wanted you to understand just our love for blueberries and recreating this recipe for you today. So this recipe is what I call a lemon thyme blueberry cobbler. And it is amazing. It tastes amazing. So I start off seasoning my blueberries. And you always want to taste your blueberries first, because there's some blueberries that are sour that may need a little more sugar. And then there are some blueberries that are really sweet, like pie sweet, that doesn't need as much. And so you want to really know what you're working with in your blueberry. I used about 2.5 pints of blueberries and poured them into, well, clean them first. Make sure you always clean them and pour them into a mixing bowl. And then I used coconut sugar because I wanted to do less of cane sugar for the filling part. I just wanted to try it out to see what coconut sugar would do. So I used coconut sugar. I also used fresh cinnamon that I grounded up, as well as cardamom, nutmeg, and lemon thyme. I just took some of the lemon leaves off and just put it into the blueberry mixture, as well as lemon zest and lemon juice. Mixing that together was just so, vanilla. Don't forget the vanilla. Don't forget the vanilla. So mixing that all together just had this beautiful floral aroma to it. Floral but citrus notes of aroma. It was so exciting, and I had to still it. I had still want to just taste it. It's like, yes, the coconut sugar was sweet enough, the blueberries are sweet enough, the lemon and the lemon thyme are so pronounced. This is going to be, the cardamom notes are just so aromatic. It's going to be the one. So from there, I set it aside. Sometimes I refrigerate it if you need some time. I just need to set it aside because I want all those flavors to just kind of marry well together. Even though it's going to be baking together, I just want it to get a head start of marrying well together. And while it's set aside, I go ahead and make the same crust that my mom taught me that day. Now, my grandmother only used self-rising flour. Self-rising flour in her cakes, self-rising flour in her biscuits. Self-rising flour was the star. My aunt, who lived with her, also had all-purpose flour, but I was taught on a self-rising flour. I was taught how to make this crust from a self-rising flour stance. So if you don't have self-rising flour, I'm not gonna know the measurements of salt and baking soda and baking powder to tell you, because I'm using self-rising, which is already included in that. And so I take some self-rising flour with vegan butter, cold vegan butter, and some tablespoons of unrefined cane sugar and more of that cardamom spice. And I began to just press it together using a fork initially, and then eventually my hand, and it makes this beautiful crumble after a while. And you see it, I start like just kind of showing it in a way that you're able to see that it crumbles up, right? And so at that point, I then bring out my baking dish and I make sure it's greased with more vegan butter because hey, vegan butter is not a bad thing. And I pour the blueberries into it. I also top with a little more lemon thyme just in case. I don't want to be conservative with the lemon thyme. I want to use it. So I pour more of the lemon thyme and then, or spread more of that on it. And then I just drizzle that crumble like it's raining crumble all over the blueberry dish. And I cover it up well because I'm going to tell you, when you bake it in the oven and it begins to cook, it's like the crust seeps down a little bit where it's not as exposed on top anymore. So I'm liberal, very liberal with the crumble, and then it's ready for the oven. It's ready for the oven. You can sprinkle the crumble with a little more sugar if you like. You can sprinkle it with cinnamon or cardamom if you like. Whatever. It's ready for the oven. The oven is a 350-degree oven for about 45 to 55 minutes. It just depends on your oven how hot it really gets. But 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and you're looking for the blueberries itself to start bubbling on top of the crust, like to kind of peek through that crust and bubble it. That's pretty much telling you it's ready. And of course you're looking for a golden color crust as well. And yeah, after a few minutes it's done, and I let it sit for 10 minutes. And then while it's sitting, think about what we want to serve it with. I happen to have some vegan ice cream by Jenny's. I love me a good Jenny's ice cream, and we're gonna serve it with ice cream. And so I plate it up as I like to do, and do a little brush stroke because I think I'm fancy. Garnish with a little lemon thyme, and there you are. And that brings me back to that 11-year-old that was just ambitious in the blueberry fields, just conceiving this idea of what it's like to make a blueberry cobbler with the flavors that are coming up in her through her senses and just a knowledge. And it turned out right then, just like it turns out right now. I love that for us. And scene.